I'm Jessica, and this is Tessa, and we are here in Nashville with Lynn Whited, who is the brother of. Could you tell us a little bit about Roy?
Well, Roy was, of course, he was a teacher. He taught high school history. He's also a basketball coach, and they actually won the state championship 2 years running. Uh, After he retired as a teacher, he became a real estate agent and auctioneer. And in the process of working as a real estate auction, he got the call to preach. And so he went back to school while he was doing all his teaching and or his uh, real estate, and became a preacher and was the preacher for 14 years.
Can you tell us about his disappearance?
Uh, he was seen at his office on May the 3rd. They were working, and at about 2:45, he said he was going to go look at a piece of property that he was interested in, and said bye to everybody and left, just like he normally did. Uh, no one seen him over the weekend. The other partner in the real estate company had texted him multiple times and tried to call him, but he never did answer. And she thought that was a little strange, but she didn't go check on him. And then Sunday morning, he didn't show up for his church. And so the church family came, and the landlord lives next door. The landlord came in and went through the house, and he wasn't there. Then they called 911. At that time, they started searching. The guy next door he has a Ring doorbell camera. He saw all the activity in the police, so he called the landlord and told him. He said, he says, I got a video of his truck coming in. It's Friday afternoon about 3:45. And it was really strange because a bee flew in front of the sensor. He turned the camera on. You could hear the bee, and you could see his truck pull into the driveway. Otherwise, it would not. We'd have never seen that. So the sheriff come, the state patrol come, TBI. Uh, they did a little searching then. At that time, the nephews called me, and I immediately came up and got here late Sunday night. Monday morning, we organized a search. And we did some preliminary searching around the property and didn't find anything. And later on that week, we organized a large search. We had about 107 people. We had horses, dogs, and we did a huge sector search and didn't find anything. Uh,
And that was at his house.
it was at his house. Yes, there's a hunting area behind the house. It's about 1,300 acres, and we did contact the people who own that had the lease on it. And he's got 40. I think he said he had 42 cameras, and he went through every camera, and there was no camera, nothing that showed my brother going into the woods there.
Okay. Now that piece of property he went to go and look at, can you confirm he was ever there?
No,
Okay. Um,
Was his vehicle left at the house?
left at the house. He always left his keys at the vehicle unlocked, and left his keys on the console because he continuously lost keys. So that was his way of leaving them there. The house was locked, uh, and his phone was on the nightstand, plugged up to the charger.
okay, so he didn't have his phone with
He
him.
did not have his phone.
So with that Ring camera, can they see who got out of the truck?
No,
Was it
no,
okay?
it just showed just a brief of it making the turn into the driveway.
Is there any evidence that he went inside that house that day?
Well, his phone was on the charger,
Okay, yes, you
so
did say that.
He lived alone.
alone. Yes.
Were dogs ever brought out to?
Yes. Yeah, they brought dogs out. They brought bloodhounds and cadaver dogs,
Okay.
and they did a complete search then. Later on, brought in Norwegian Ridgebacks, which are extremely good tracking dogs, and they couldn't get a scent either.
Was that on that Sunday?
The Sunday was the first dogs, and then I brought in a friend of mine contacted me, and he had the Norwegian Ridgebacks, and he said he would love to bring them out, and he did, and we went through the whole area, and they didn't hit on anything either.
Would he ever just get a ride with someone and go somewhere?
I would say no. Roy loved to drive. He hated to be the passenger in the vehicle. So if he was going anywhere, I would say he would have driven.
Okay. Now, is there any areas that he's from Tennessee?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So is there other, I know you're in Alabama. Is there any other ties to any cities or states?
We grew up in a little town called Jamestown, Tennessee. Went to elementary and high school there. He coached basketball in Jamestown. He also coached basketball in a little town called Clark Range. So I've went through all of those areas. I've contacted the sheriff's departments and the police departments and give them flyers, uh, but nothing yet.
Has there been any sightings or?
There's been a lot of people says, I think I saw him, and I've tried to check him out, and I asked the questions about what he would look like and stuff. And most of the times when in them describing him, it just doesn't fit.
Okay.
And how often before his disappearance did you have contact?
I, texting all the time, phone calls. I would come up and spend the week with him. Since I retired military, I would been able to actually come up and spend more time with him, and we spent a lot of time together. We sat out on his back porch, drink coffee, and talk theology. And
Did you notice any change in him at all?
I did not. He was the same go-getter. He just couldn't be still. But
Always on the go.
always on the go, always having to do something, help somebody. He was constantly, going and helping somebody do this, do that.
Did he, how long did he live in the area?
He's been in that house for 2.5 years, I believe, renting it. And
Did he have friends around him in the neighborhood that he?
everybody, he never met a stranger. Didn't matter what class you were in. He was your friend. He'd come up, pat you on the back, shake your hand. He'd know your name and would remember your name. I can't do that,
Yeah,
but
that's different.
yeah.
Um, now, does he live in a rural area or more of like
It's
a rural?
real. Yeah, it's up on it's outside, about 10 miles outside of Sparta.
Is it easy walkable or not really? Not really meant to be walked.
I mean, it's paved roads, but there's nothing. There's a Dollar General. It's about a mile away. That's it.
Did he have property with his house? Like, was it on a patch of property?
Right. Yes,
Was it?
it's a small. It's only
It
a
is.
couple acres. Yeah.
Okay. It's a couple acres.
Right.
Oh.
Right.
Oh.
Mm.
So he lived on a few acres.
Yes.
And no neighbors around said that they heard or saw anything
nothing.
different,
No.
even to the days leading up to it or anything like that. Wow. And the investigation, besides grid search or besides dog searches, what else has been done in the investigation?
Of course, the sheriff's department, they've pretty much expended all that their assets they can. It's because it's a missing person. There's no, I mean, there wasn't one piece of paper out of place in his house. Everything was perfect, just the way he left it. There's no evidence of a crime whatsoever. So it's not been ruled a crime. It's still a missing person. So they've expended, they keep trying and looking, but there's been no leads. There's been no uh, communication. We've offered a $15,000 reward for anything that leads us to him, and it's just nothing.
And there was a silver alert issued, is that
Yes,
correct?
yes, yes. The TBI issued a silver alert on because it was so strange on that Sunday. They got it out immediately because you know it just he vanished, and they're like, well, maybe he had a stroke or he had something that went wrong with his cognitive thinking.
Right, right, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, the last confirmed sighting where they actually physically saw him was Friday afternoon.
Yes.
Did he talk about anything else other than going to visit that property he was interested in?
No.
Okay.
They normally have auctions on Saturdays, but they didn't have an auction coming up that Saturday, so he was going to go home and study and get ready for church.
Okay.
I had read that there was a possibility that he had walked out of the house in the middle of the night. That's never been
Confirmed.
confirmed
No.
at all. Okay.
That was
And,
at 2
and
a.m.
Yeah,
well, and
yeah.
that came. The power company has that meter that shows the hourly usage,
Oh,
and at midnight, the usage went to nearly nothing.
Oh.
So that was why they were thinking maybe he left at midnight on Friday night. But
he turned all the lights off.
the light, you're right. TV off, lights off. Yep.
And you didn't know if he had any timers on any of his
No,
lights
he
by
did not.
chance,
He
like
did
it
not.
would do it
Right.
automatically.
Right. Uh,
That is very odd.
That
Yeah.
is to leave
Yes.
in the middle of the night and that your power
Power.
went out.
Mm-hmm.
Did the power stay the same?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
Once
and
it
it
went
never.
down, it's just the refrigerator and the air conditioner was the only thing running, and it stayed level.
Was he one to turn off everything before he left? Or would he
Mm,
leave on a couple lights or?
he would normally leave on a couple lights
Okay.
because it is back in the country, and
You like to see where you're
you
going
know,
when you get home.
all right.
Yeah.
I don't think I have any more questions. Can't think of any.
Yeah.
We'll see if there's
Do you
any-
have, yeah, I was just gonna say, community
I have
questions? Do you have, page on Facebook or anything like that set up to where anybody that does happen to have any tips or anything like
Right.
that?
Right. We have Find Roy Whited is on Facebook. Also, we have a dedicated phone. I got a dedicated phone that was with that for that number. Anybody that wants to send a tip in anonymously, they can send the tip in.
It's a really good idea. I really like that.
Real quick, he didn't have any other vehicles besides his truck.
Correct.
Okay. He wasn't looking at purchasing a new vehicle or anything like that. Okay.
And was his phone searched?
Yes.
And
Phones, and he had 2 laptops and an iPad, and TBI took them and downloaded everything, and it was pretty much business and church. There was
wow,
And he had no enemies or anything like that.
none that
Interesting.
yeah.
was that all? No community
I
questions?
didn't
or
see
anything?
any. Okay, we'll check on that side, but
Okay.
no, you're good. I'm
You're
just
good.
making sure there's no questions.
Okay.
I didn't see any on my phone, though.
So if Roy were to see this now, is there anything that you would like to tell him?
We love you. We want you back. Uh, Call me, text me, let me know somehow, and I will come get you.
Awesome, awesome.
I want to thank you for your time today.
Well, thank you all for what you're doing, and this organization is awesome.
you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anytime and anything that we can do to help, you just let us know.
Right. Right. Uh,
We're here for you.
okay. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
All
Awesome.
right. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yes.